So, will the 10th edition Necron Codex be any good? We're getting an early Necron Codex release, and it's time for a chat. It's coming right up.
Necrons!
Tactical Corner.
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Well, actually, this video is made up of clips from my recent live stream. You can check out the live stream in the pinned comment. And today we, of course, are talking about Necrons. We know that, well, potentially tomorrow, I mean, it's been one each day, but potentially tomorrow the Codex preview is going to be out, and if you're watching this live stream after that, then there will be a video about the preview, and I'll link that up in the description below for you. So we got the preview, and of course we also know that the Necron Codex is coming out this year, in the winter this year, and obviously we've experienced this before. I think there's a good thing and a bad thing about this. So the bad thing, of course, is an early codex will indicate the codex creep is going to happen again to us. So if you're not aware of what that is, basically you get your codex, you get your new cool rules, and then each codex that comes out tends to get even cooler, better rules than you do. And then the next codex gets even cooler, better rules than the previous one. And the reason why Games Workshop do this is because they want to sell the new models for the codices. And then the original codices tend to get a little bit outdated and underpowered. Previously, Games Workshop tried to sort of solve this by updated points, updated rules in chapter approved and data slates. I'll be honest with you, I'm sure we're going to see this again. And don't be fooled by the free rules, because it's not going to be free. It's going to be free at first. We're going to be able to have free downloads to get started with the 10th edition. But of course, when the codices come out, you're going to be needing to buy your codex. I'm pretty certain of that. And I suggest that the data card things for your new codex, you're probably going to have to buy as well. I very much doubt they're going to be a free download. I could be wrong. I'd love to be wrong. But I just don't think so. So yeah, free's never free when it comes to Games Workshop. Yeah, so that's the disappointing side of things, especially experiencing it very much so in 9th edition. We had the first codex, and that codex wasn't even really a 9th edition codex. It was like a 8.5 codex. I don't think they really knew where 9th edition was going at the time of our codex release. However, there's still some positives about having an early codex. Now, the biggest positive, of course, is we get our new codex first, well, fairly first, which is awesome because we get new rules. And not only that, we're going to get at least one new miniature. I'm not 100% sure how many new miniatures we're going to get. We've got quite a few choices of the new miniatures that we would like. Of course, new Locust Destroyers, a new sculpt for that. I really wouldn't be surprised if they used the Locust Heavy Destroyer kit and just swapped out the gun for a different gun to give us Locust Destroyers. I think that's a quick, easy fix. Wouldn't be surprised. I think the thing which probably will happen is the Finecast characters maybe will be updated into plastic. Maybe not all of them. And I also wouldn't be surprised if some of those Finecast named characters might fall by the wayside, maybe go to Legends. Let's hope not. New miniatures, that will be cool. I don't think we'll get a new unit. I think we've got far too many units as it is. But hopefully new miniatures to update some of the older miniatures that we've got. And then of course, as I said, we're going to have this new codex to play with, which for a short while one would imagine would be pretty good, because everyone else is going to be using the free downloads, which are basically just sort of stopgap rules, and we're going to have this nice new shiny codex. Now the Orcs are getting their codex, I believe, in the spring 2024. That means from the winter to the spring I've got a chance to kick Richard's arse because it's been a very long time since Necrons felt powerful. But no, I mean, all joking aside, I mean, we are going to be pretty good for a while at least. But I think more importantly, actually, the truth is, I don't want our Necron Codex to be super powerful, too powerful. I play Necrons because I love Necrons, not because they're really good on the table. I'll play Necrons regardless of the rules. That's what you want from an army. You want that true love of your army. And as a long-time Necron player, I don't think I'd actually like to see Necrons be too powerful that everyone else drops all their armies, goes out and buys Necrons. Their Necrons are all at the tournament scene for a few months until the next thing comes out. So there definitely are some positives about having an early codex, and more importantly, it is very exciting. Hoping for a new Nightbringer. Yes, a new Nightbringer, of course. So we know that 10th edition is going to be simplified, but not simple. Now, when I first heard this, I thought that Games Workshop were going to take what we've got in 9th edition, but just make it a bit simpler. But actually, I don't think that at all. It feels like that this is literally a total reboot of the game. It doesn't feel anything like 9th edition. Obviously, some of the stuff is in there from 9th edition, but actually, a lot of the stuff feels like old rules coming back. List building now is more free and open. Yeah, we used to have a force organisation chart before. You had to take that 1 HQ and 2 troops, so then it was 3 of it, everything else. But it felt freer in those days. We got less phases like previous edition. The psychic phase is gone, and now the psychic powers are going to be done in the shooting phase or in the movement phase like before. You've got universal special rules back. Leaders joining units. Okay, not quite independent characters, where you could join a unit and then you could actually leave it and join another unit. Simplified, not simple. So now it's just a leader. You join at the beginning of the game and they can only be with that unit the whole of the game. We've got battle shock tests, which to me, very, very similar to the old pinning checks you used to have to take. You shot someone with a gun that caused pinning, let's take a leadership test, and if they failed, they'd basically gone to ground, they couldn't do anything. Vehicles are going to be big again, tougher, open tops coming back, more about that in a minute. And you can pop out and you can shoot, and the Land Raider can sort of move, shoot, and I think they can assault as well, just like the old days. It really feels like the old days. Objectives, so you can't actually stand on top of an objective now. I don't think that was the old rules, but where we used to play with objectives that were basically mini scenic bases, you never stood on top of the base anyway, you always went around it. So again, it's going to feel like the old days. I am liking the new objective system, because I think it just makes the board look more thematic. You actually feel like you're fighting over something rather than just a flat objective. However, potentially movement could be a lot more difficult with these objectives. And Overwatch is still there, it's a CP still, but you could do it in more phases, potentially in your opponent's like movement phase, etc. And as I discussed before, the new mission cards, which I'm actually really liking. Now, obviously, there are other changes. I haven't listed everything, but those are the things which sort of highlighted quite heavily for me. And as I said, in many ways, it feels like some of the old edition is coming back quite heavily. It's like they're recycling some of the rules, but hopefully in a good way. The combination maybe of what they've learnt in 8th edition and 9th edition, and then bringing back some of the old rules from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th into this, hopefully we'll end up with a perfect 10th edition. Let's hope so. And of course the assault rules are changing as well, so now you've got to be in base contact, and then it's only models behind that are in base contact with the first row. I think that's going to be a lot better. Consolidation also is going to be a bit different. If first turn assault is there, it's not going to be as potent as it is at the moment. But yeah, that's what was highlighted to me. Now I want to have a chat about what does all this mean for Necrons. Well, list building. As I said, list building now is a lot freer. And of course, that is going to benefit the Necrons, especially some of our slots where we have lots of good units. I mean, our fast attack slot, for example, has quite a number of good units. Now, of course, every army is going to list build in the same way as well, so they're going to be able to put all of their best unit slots into their armies, so it's not necessarily going to benefit us over other armies, but it is going to benefit us from the point of view of making different lists, you know, maybe new lists that we've not played before, and come up with a new themed list. I think this is great for themed lists, and personally I love themed lists. Leaders joining units. I think maybe this is going to have less impact on the Necrons because our characters aren't that great anyway, and we do need to embed them as much as possible in units. I think some armies that could potentially be a disadvantage. We'll have to obviously wait and see. Now potentially the Psychomancer might come into his own here, embedding him into a unit. Maybe he might have some new rules, potentially, where we could make a unit do battle shock. And of course the other thing as well is single buffs. As far as I'm aware, you're not be able to buff the unit so more than once, only like one buff, and you're not allowed to take multiple buffs. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to work with things like My Will Be Done. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work, but it's going to be interesting to find out. So yeah, Universal Special Rules, they're back. Again, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on the Necrons to some degree. I think it hopefully will make the whole game a little bit easier. And then Battle Shock. Obviously Necrons are very well known for having good leadership. I mean, we're leadership 10, probably one of the best ones out there. So presumably we're going to get a good leadership in this new edition. In my head I was thinking I hope Necrons are probably going to be around 5, maybe 6. I'd like to see them lower, but I don't think we'll get lower than 5. Maybe 4 would be great, especially for me, because remember I rolled lots of 1s and 2s, so I'm not looking forward to taking Battle Shock tests at all. But yeah, hopefully we get a good leadership so that Battle Shock doesn't affect us too much. Obviously one way to avoid Battle Shock is potentially take bigger units, because you only take the test if you're under half strength. But then we have to be mindful of the new blast rules because they seem pretty good as well. So it's going to be really interesting just to see how it all pans out, how the playing field works. Now vehicles, of course, yeah, open topped is going to be a thing, or at least we're going to have hatches that you can shoot out of. We of course have Ghost Arcs, which used to have open top rule. All the warriors inside used to be able to shoot. I really hope we do get open topped and we can shoot our warriors from inside the Ghost Arc. There's talk of maybe other units going inside the Ghost Arc, but I don't think that will happen. I think it is a warrior based vehicle, but of course we'll have to see. But even if we can't shoot out of it, we do know that we can move and then we can jump out and then we can shoot our gun. So at least we're going to have that benefit. Now, of course, toughness is going up on vehicles. We don't know what we're going to get for our Necrons yet, but hopefully we'll get a toughness boost, and it will be very interesting to see how quantum shielding is going to work. I have a funny feeling that our toughness won't go up an uber amount. I think we'll still be quite low toughness, but hopefully that will be boosted by some really good quantum shielding rules. What they'll be, I don't know. Again, we just have to wait and see. Hopefully, quantum shielding rules will be good along with extra toughness, and our vehicles will be back with no random damage, reduced random damage. Please, Games Workshop. 3 plus D3 is what we want. We don't want D6, D6. We want 3 plus D3. That's what we want, Games Workshop. Please let it happen. Please let it happen. Will it happen? I don't know. Let's see what you think. I've got a poll here asking that very question. At the moment, 64% of you says yes, we will lose our D6, D6 for something better. So vehicles, I think, are going to be quite big in 10th edition. for sure. Now terrain, so we've got new terrain rules, and I have to say I love it. So I love the new terrain rules. 9th edition terrain, very complicated to the point that you probably don't use half of the terrain rules. The new terrain, of course, is going to let us bring back things like flat terrain, because now you can stand in it. As long as your model is wholly within the terrain, you can get the cover save. And I think this is awesome because it means I can bring back some of my more thematic boards where I have some really cool terrain, Necron terrain, but a lot of it is flat terrain because that's what we used to have. So I think thematically 10th edition is going to look so much better with the new terrain rules. So I'm really looking forward to that. There's going to be less AP, less damage on the table. Assault doesn't appear to be as powerful as it was. I'm hoping the games might just go on a little bit longer, because at the moment usually the army's wiped out by turn 3. Let's have some more tactical play. Turn 1 and 2, let's make those more tactical moves. I'd like to see that. However, we are still on a smaller table if you play match play rules, so we'll have to see how that all goes. Now, other stuff that could be big for Necrons. Critical hits and wounds are obviously a thing. I like the way they've brought out these new words. I think it's simple and clear, and obviously it's going to cover a lot of the different books. And of course we've got sustained hits, which is basically exploding, and that will be in the profile of the weapon. So again, like our Tesla, a critical hit will be a sustained hit. And then we'll get, so it might say sustained hit 2, so you get 2 extra hits for every 6 unmodified 6 that you get. And then of course we've got things like devastating wounds, so they cause a mortal wound on a critical wound, and again that's going to be in the profile as well. So it sort of makes sense how they're doing it. I'm quite liking it, and I have a funny feeling with these new critical play on words that hopefully Tesla and Gauss are going to get a lot better, especially Gauss. I'm really hoping that we do get something special for critical wounds or even hits. You know, a critical hit potentially gives you auto wound with a Gauss weapon, or potentially even the devastating wounds on Gauss weapons. That'd be really nice. And potentially Tesla, you never know what Tesla's going to bring. Games Workshop have concentrated on Gauss quite a lot in 9th edition, so maybe Tesla might get some extra benefits, might be pretty good going forward. We're going to have to wait and see. It's so exciting. But what I do think is going to happen is I do think that the game is going to change quite a bit in terms of the army composition. I think vehicles are going to be really big. And once again, I think the game is going to go back to the old days of maybe around 5th edition with vehicles. It's going to be either all or nothing. So you either have like a really heavy vehicle army, or you have no vehicles. Because if you just take a couple of vehicles, the chances are that your opponent's going to have anti-vehicle armory, and they're going to take those couple of vehicles out. But if you have lots of vehicles, it's going to be harder for them to do that. Or you just nullify those vehicle weapons by having no vehicles. And I've got a funny feeling that 10th edition may go down that route, a little bit like 5th edition, but only time will tell. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. In the meantime, here is a playlist featuring all of my live streams, and here's a video that YouTube thinks you would like to watch next.